さあ、私の体内に眠る光の封印を解いてください。私には聖剣の封印を解く力がありました。勝負どころです。今です。闇から目を覚まし、光の中で覚醒する。
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Fjeller. I'm back, and Frontier's not with me right now. He might join us later, but we'll see. And one of the reasons he's not with me is because it's morning for me. I'm being joined today by a guest again, who's all the way across the world from Russia. Please welcome Anirel, everyone.
Hello.
She's like the top amazing player from Russia. Very hardcore.
What?
Doesn't even buy the Clock of Forgiveness, so she likes to torture herself that way.
When did I become amazing? Sorry. Even the most amazing.
Well, anybody who plays this game free to play and like doesn't buy the clock is pretty amazing, because it means you're okay with doing really tedious stuff.
Or you just love pain.
Oh yeah, that too. I don't know. It's like almost every free to play player I knew, like when Ancient Beckoning came around, they just broke down. It's just like I can't handle this anymore.
I think for me it was some of the pure horrible random challenges in the time limited events. Maybe like Eulogy. You remember that one?
Yeah, I remember.
Lightless Eulogy. Yeah, that was the name. So it was like several times when I almost broke, but I think it's just easy for me to go on like I did. I'm used to it now. It doesn't hurt anymore.
Back then, like, I was still newer to the game, and I was like watching Nitro play the game, and I think Nitro, like, he didn't. I think he didn't even beat Lightless Eulogy, and he was free to play as well. So like, I think a lot of free to play players like got almost broken by Lightless Eulogy. It's probably still the most infamous challenge in this game's history so far, because anytime there's a new really hard challenge, everyone says it's not as bad as Lightless Eulogy.
Yeah, I think it's the only one I didn't pass too. And speaking of Nitro, yeah, that's he's kind of the reason I started being a strategist as well, because I kind of grew up watching Nitro.
I think a lot of us, like when we were newer to the game, we were all watching Nitro, yeah, like.
And then he said like, "Oh, hey, I'm a strategist. I get some rewards. I have contact with the devs and yada yada," and I got interested in that.
And honestly, he also has really good luck on banners. It's way better luck than I had to have on banners, at least. These last two collabs were really mean to me, and I needed to pull on. I needed to pull for the space-time essence just to get the character I wanted.
Well, I couldn't afford to do that anyway.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the only reason I can afford to do that is not only do I buy like the Gift of the Goddess, so that gives me a decent amount of crystals, but I also get like, I mean. In the strategy squad, all of us, well, most of us, we can get about 1,500 crystals a month if we make enough videos. We can get a little bit more than that if we spend our points, but usually most of us are saving our points to get the nice little figures that they offer.
I think I'm done though. I got my Zerida. I don't need anything else.
Yes, that was the end goal for all of us who wanted the Zerida figure. Maybe that's why Nitro quit the game. He got a Zerida doll, and he's just like, okay, I'm done. I mean, okay, Nitro's still around, but he makes like 3 videos a month now.
That was actually what I was thinking back then, because I think it was a horrible Apex season, and I was so frustrated. I couldn't even get to Wikigrisser, and it's something like a basis for me because I've been Wikigrisser since season 3. And not getting into Wikigrisser in one of the seasons, that would be a total disaster. And it was going very bad. It was this horrible, everyone being debuff OE meta. And then I was going to get Zerida, so I thought, yeah, I'll just stick around until I get her. Then I got her, and I got into Wikigrisser, so I was just, okay, I chill. I'm fine. And I went on with my vids.
Yeah, the debuff meta is pretty torturous. I mean, people kind of know me. Like, I play like kind of a stall tanky sort of box, and that's been getting worse and worse over the seasons. Although I guess my tiny brain moves don't help me out there, but
Yeah, you don't say.
and speaking of which, like this patch does introduce one thing that is actually like pretty significant, kind of a nerf to debuff boxes in a way. But I guess we'll get to that, and I guess we can start talking about it. Like, I mean, this is the
Liana.
yeah. We'll get to that. But first before we start, I guess we should answer a question: is this actually the 3rd anniversary patch? And I'm gonna explain that real quick. So basically, the anniversary of this game on the Chinese server is the 2nd of August. That's the day the game came out in China. But as most people know, this game has like 4 to 5 week sort of patch cycles. So they're never going to perfectly line up with August 2nd. Well, I mean, they might, but it probably isn't going to happen. So this patch was released on July 29th. And most people thought, okay, is this going to be the anniversary patch? But then like we had several weeks where leading up to this patch is like, okay, we're not getting any anniversary news. What's going on? And then just like a couple days before this patch hit, they said, okay, here's the anniversary skin vote. They let you vote for skins, kind of like last year. Ares and Lana won a skin vote, and they got special skins.
Yeah.
This year it was actually there was a vote, and this time the ones that won were Tensei Jessica and Yan Jessica. That was the pair that won this year. So anyway, that was usually their lead up to the anniversary, but it came out like just days before this patch even hit. So people were just like, okay, what's going on? But basically they're kind of cheating, because even though this patch is really, really close to the actual anniversary date, I think this is more of this patch is the start of their anniversary celebration, and the next patch, the one that's probably going to be on August 26th, that one is going to be the quote-unquote actual anniversary patch. So the answer to, is this the 3rd anniversary patch? It's kinda. I mean, this is the start of it, but this is not their actual anniversary patch. This is not the official quote-unquote 3.0 patch.
Are they giving out some freebies or something? Like, yay, let's celebrate, free pools, yada yada.
Well, they didn't do that last year either. So they usually, like, what they do is just like, there's all these like special packs. I think they have a couple of those. They had the skin vote, like the Ares and Lana from last year. This year they already had their skin vote. They're having a fan art competition right now, I think, as we're talking. It's the design a skin contest, I think, because they had one the previous year, right? And the Sophia skin is what came out of that.
I didn't know.
Yeah, the Sophia skin was actually fan art before it became an actual skin in the game, and so was the Lance skin, where he has ramen. Like, he has a dragon and he's ramen. Like, that was fan art. And then, like, they were like, oh, it won the contest. We'll have our artists, like, put that into the game.
Wait, that weird one where his looks like he has dragon legs? Once you've seen it, you cannot unsee it.
Wait. I have a picture of it right here. Let me see if I can, like...
On the miniature, do you see it? Like, he's sitting... He has tiny, short legs that you don't see that there are any legs at all. And then there's just a dragon. So it looks like the dragon is growing out of Lance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But yes, that one was fan art. But the fan artist only drew the actual art, not the miniature, so you can blame Zlong for this one. Well, anyway, as far as anniversary celebrations go, yeah, we actually still don't know that much about the anniversary, even as we're talking right now. That's the weird part, right? Because, like, the anniversary technically has already passed. Like, the actual date of the anniversary has already passed us, but they're still on the fan art stuff of the anniversary. We haven't actually gotten the meat of the news. And as far as that goes, like, I think the rumor is that we're going to get, like, the actual anniversary show, and they had one, the previous couple of years, I'm told that it's going to happen on the 15th of this month, but I can't be 100% sure on that. There's no official announcement of that yet, but that's the word.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've seen the last one. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Last year they had it was internet broadcast only because of the pandemic, obviously. And whenever this show happens, if it's also broadcast online, which I'm sure it will be, like it should be, I'll be sure to make a little video about it and talk about anything they reveal.
Speaking of skins, do you know if the young Jessica is the Japanese one, or is this a different one?
Oh, that one. No, that's not the one. No.
It's not the one.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
we get another one. Cool.
There's probably going to be another one. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that we're past all that, I guess we can talk about this patch that came out on the 29th of July. This patch was really strange because this is the first time ever that they've added no new characters during one of their major patches. This is all speculation on my part and on the part of anybody else who talks about this, but personally I feel like this was clearly meant to be the Gintama patch. They were probably trying to have start off their anniversary with a big bang by being like, hey, look, here's a collab to start us off. Gintama. And one of the reasons I think that's the case is because we only got 2 3Cs in this patch, which usually only happens when there's 3 new characters that get 3Cs, which is usually a collab. And also, the Gintama character data was in the game, but there was a lot of stuff that was either removed or just wasn't put there in the first place.
IP problems?
Yeah, so as to why they didn't actually, why it didn't happen, you hear all kinds of things, and like with anything else, you can't be sure why it happened. But I believe the most credible rumor that I heard was that there was some kind of problem with the art, and I think the IP holder didn't like the art that they created or something, and they needed to go back and redraw it, so they couldn't get it out in time for this patch. So. Which ended up with this patch where they put SP Lana front and center instead of any of the new characters. But I guess the question now is is Gintama actually happening even? I think what the important thing to keep in mind is that Zlong has never officially announced a Gintama collab. Okay, so that's
it was smart of them.
Yeah, that's the thing everybody needs to remember. Don't get your hopes up too high. I personally think it's going to happen. Just remember that they never officially announced anything. Anything we know about Gintama was data mined from, stuff they left in the game. And that's not enough to go off of and say it's definitely getting in. I think it's very likely we're getting it still. But clearly some IP issues going on here.
What I can say is I don't think it's a totally bad thing that we didn't get any new characters, because you can actually get very overwhelmed. Especially, hey, I'm free to play, and pulling for new characters every month is really costly. Especially if you are unlucky, like I am usually.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. Oh well, I don't mind having a month without character, and that's the thing, right? I actually think it's fine if this game had more months where you don't have new characters, because really, even though that's the thing that gets everybody excited, new characters, really, that's their moneymaker, right? That's their way of getting more money out of us, or our crystals away from us. And I actually wouldn't mind if they took their time and just 2 months between each character release. But I think in this particular case, people kind of crapped on them a lot because, especially I saw the Chinese message boards and stuff, and people were pretty brutal to Zlong when they found out this patch actually has no new characters. Especially because they were thinking, oh, Gintama's coming. But the thing that causes this is this is their anniversary celebration, right? If this was any other patch and they were like, hey, we're just not having new characters this time, I think people would be like, hey, sure, having that once in a while isn't a problem. But having this as their opening to their anniversary celebration is it just looks kind of bad.
High expectations.
Yeah, I mean, people were expecting something for an anniversary, right? And like I said, this is not the quote-unquote official anniversary patch, so they can still salvage this, they can still win us back. But yeah, shit happens, I guess.
The thing that really annoys me about the patch is that they only got you characters up to Patzer and Towa. No Lucretia, no Christiane, because everyone would like that. I don't think there will be any complaints if the banner was a bit bigger, wider range of characters.
Yeah, I was about to start talking about that. So to explain to everybody what Anirel is talking about, so instead of a new characters banner, they added this special summon event. So in this event, you can choose 2 out of 59 SSR characters in the game to basically build your own raid-up banner out of. So this raid-up banner, it is a normal raid-up banner. It's still a 20% off banner chance. There's no special exchange going on here other than your standard space-time essence exchange that you can do if you want to. And you can reset the character selection up to twice, so you can do a total of 3 different banners, custom banners of like the 2 characters of your choice. But like Anirel just said, the character selection only goes up to Towa and Patsir, which I think is really, really lame of them. Like if you're gonna do an event like this to be like, hey, here's a big celebration, here's like a special banner for you guys, because it's not even like they're giving us characters for free, right? Because you gotta spend crystals on this. So it's not like they're even doing us that big of a favor, let's be honest.
This just doesn't make sense at all.
I mean, it makes sense if you consider like, they don't want. First off, they want to keep their newer characters away from people so they can make more money from them down the line. And the other way to look at it is they don't want people on the other servers like ourselves to see this thing and be like, oh, I'm just gonna plan ahead and not pull for all these banners for the next several months, because I know there's gonna be this special banner coming up, and I can do things like, I can put the character I want plus like some 6-star character I have like TRs or something, and I can have a better chance of getting the one I want.
That is all good, but do we really want to wait like half a year? Half a year, just to be sure. It's not a guaranteed banner even. It's just a rate up.
Right, but like say, for example, I wanted Christiane. If this offered Christiane, for example, obviously I would just skip the Christiane banner because I don't want Suzette.
Everyone hates Suzette.
Well, there's actually quite a few people I know who want to play around with Suzette, but my point is that if you only wanted Christiane, you would probably skip that banner if you knew this one was coming and it had Christiane on it. And same principle applies to like, or Epsilon or Mu. Any of those newer
It doesn't
characters.
work with Lucretia though. You need both. That's a huge money sink incoming.
That one is actually less so because a lot of people are going to pull for Lucretia just so they can use her immediately. But Christiane came out late enough in that season so that people who aren't going to just Mega Whale and just get like a 6-star Christiane immediately, they could have instead just like, oh, okay, I'm going to wait for this banner to come to get Christiane. But ultimately, I guess the bottom line is that they didn't let us do that. Whatever the case, this banner only goes up to Towa and Patsir because they hate us.
They don't hate us. They love us. We give them money.
Okay,
well, I don't.
Okay,
You do.
Okay.
I don't know if it's too off topic to ask, but I've seen some replays from China and they feature no tanks, no healers. What was the point of Christiana then?
I mean, Christiane is a very good tank. I don't think that's in dispute, but I think it's just because a lot of people prefer playing aggressively now because the DPS in this game are so strong now that you can just sort of go without a tank. And especially if you play AoE, like Christiane has a little bit of support versus AoE. Her aura can reduce AoE damage just like Landius's can, and she has the one skill that reduces AoE damage taken on one of your allies, but that's not enough for her to justify taking her over just another DPS that might help you win. Or even Hilda, like Hilda stops you from getting pushed around, which is very important sometimes. Yeah, I mean, I don't. There's nothing to say about that other than the fact that it's just a very aggressive meta at this point. Possibly, I don't know if Liana can stop this, like Liana 3C. I don't think it will, but at least it helps a little bit. But yeah, I mean, Christiane not being used is not a problem with Christiane herself, because Christiane is a really strong tank, but it has more to do with just like how aggressive the meta is now because of how strong the DPS are.
It's so weird because we are going to plan ahead too, and if Christiane is so good but she doesn't get play, that's gonna shift things a lot.
Plenty of people still play her, but she's just not going to be like a shoe-in in a box like some people assume she would be. If you like playing tanks, then you want Christiane. I think that's the way to put it.
And that's the second time you've mentioned Liana. Maybe we should discuss it.
I mean, we can jump straight to 3Cs if you want, but do you want to... I know you're more excited about SP Lana, because I know Lana is your waifu.
Yeah, it is, but as soon as Lucretia comes out, I think she's gonna be my waifu.
Okay.
Spoilers.
Oh, shit.
Well, okay. SP Lana sees a big change in her talent, and I don't think I'm sure that it's for the good. I don't think I'm sure it's enough.
Yeah, it's the talent is stronger, but yeah, it has a lot of problems. So I guess I'll just do a little introduction on what SP Lana is like. So SP Lana, her new class is a holy class. They really like giving out these holy classes. I'm guessing it's because like they want her to be able to use like the glory of the world as her helm or any number of things. I mean, it also gives her the holy weakness, which is kind of a bummer. And her new soldier is Redeemer, which is a very strange choice, but it does make some sense with the talent they changed her to. And honestly, there's no more offensive soldiers you can really give Lana anymore. I think Lana's offensive soldiers are pretty much as good as a selection as she'll ever get, so it makes sense to give her another defensive choice.
Well, that's purely AoE. Redeemers.
Yeah, it's purely AoE, but there's nothing else you can really give her for single target that she would like. She already has sorceresses, she has the alchemists, she has wizards, she has dark elf snipers, I think. She has just about everything you could ask for as far as her single target abilities are concerned, I think. I mean, pretty much the only other weird thing you could give her is like cyborgs or something.
That's weird.
But that wasn't gonna happen. I guess they probably wanted to give her something that was both useful and also made sense thematically. The theme here is that she's like, she's become like this holy just
By the way, do you think that her SP totally kills the alchemists? They just don't make sense anymore.
Yeah, it kind of does. There's really it doesn't really offer the advantages that it used to because her range increases are all for unit wide now, rather than just for herself.
It's so good I never leveled them up.
Yeah,
I think they're just totally useless now.
They have some use for like Rachel and Chris, but yeah, like if they used to be tailor-made for Lana mostly, and they just like, I guess that was a band-aid.
Butchered them.
Yeah, it was a band-aid to kind of make Lana work properly, and then they were just like, okay, Lana still sucks, so we gotta give her an SP class. So before we talk about like her talent and her skills, I guess a couple other details about her. She doesn't get any new factions, which is a huge missed opportunity in my opinion. Like, I really think she should have done the third faction with her SP class.
Yeah, like Glory.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factions that would work with her. Glory would make sense. Empire would make a decent amount of sense. Even Mythical would make sense on her. But they decide she gets nothing instead. At least right now, it's not as big a problem as it used to be because Princess did get buffed quite a bit. And Dark Faction is still pretty popular, so her factions at the moment are at least decent. They're not as bad as they used to be, but I still think it would have been nice to give her a third faction, especially because of the units that she's competing against, right? She's competing against Light of Genesis and Lucretia, who both have very strong faction choices, and SP Lana, I think if you wanted her to compete with them, really should have given her another faction choice in here.
So if you want SP Lana, you must have Christiana.
Yeah, you want a Christiane.
That's the basics.
Yeah. And Luna is getting a little bit more play, I think, than she used to because of how popular magic damage is now. So that can be helpful for her. Although Luna's faction buff is more useful on the AoE build. So aside from all that stuff, Lana's stats went up a lot. Like, her intelligence went from 554 on her Dark Princess class to 590 on her new class, which is one of the highest intelligence stats in the game. Like, I think the only person with a higher intelligence stat is like Florentia, and Florentia isn't an offensive mage, so that's a really nice boost.
Well, she's been a huge nuke even before that, so I can't imagine how good she is damage-wise now.
Yeah, before Lucretia came out, Lana, even with all the lack of use in Lana was always the strongest potential damage, I think, in terms of single target. And then Lucretia came out and kind of crapped on her for that. Like, she not only could probably do as much, if not more, damage in single target, but Lucretia was also better at AoE, and she had all this other utility stuff, so they just decided, okay, we're gonna give Lana back her crown as the highest damage mage. We're gonna get her a huge intelligence boost. We're going to give her this talent. So I guess we can talk about her talent. Her talent is damage boost based on the number of buffs she has, which is a problem. But before we talk about that, it does give 35% damage at most, which is the highest of any character that is not like a gimmick trigger. Like someone like Varash can get a higher damage multiplier than that, but he needs to be at like 10% life or something. So Lana is the only one that can get 35% damage while she's perfectly healthy, and the requirement is kind of a bummer. The buff requirement is a problem because not only does it make her kind of reliant on a faction buff, in fact, like even if she gets a faction buff, she still needs one more buff on top of that, I believe, in order to get 35%. It does let her cap out really high, but I feel like this requirement was really not necessary. I think it's kind of lame that they put this requirement on her.
And it's totally useless for Ancient Beckoning stuff.
That's the other thing. So
that's annoying.
Yeah, the normal Lana is actually possibly still better than SP Lana at Ancient Beckoning, just because SP Lana is not going to be able to stack her talent very effectively in Ancient Beckoning. It's going to be hard getting 5 buffs on her in there.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
And that's a big counter to her, probably, so you just ban her faction buff and she's tame.
Yeah.
More or less.
Well, I will say, like, SP Lana, even with our improvement, she is definitely not, like, going to be a first pick or an early pick at all. You would definitely pick a faction buff before picking her. And because of that, that makes her kind of forced to be in a Dark faction box or a Princess faction box. Which isn't that bad because her talent applies to AoEs now. So Dark Faction Dark Faction tends to focus on AoEs a lot, but Lana can join in with that and do quite well now, I think. Very high damage AoEs, and she has increased range and span on them. So her black hole is really, really big. It's the size of Rain's Termination Slash with a Balance Blade. So I think that's pretty good. Yeah, so I mean, I guess just to explain real quick, her talent also says that she has increased range on her single target skills if she has a ranged soldier, and she has increased range and span on her AoEs if she's using a melee soldier. So basically, she is not like some of the other mages like Lucretia, where she can do both AoE and single target in the same match. You have to kind of pick before you go into the match which one you want her to be doing. She's either going to be single target or AoE focused for any given match.
Yeah, well, she could still do AoE if she's single target based. But I don't think that's vice versa that works a lot. I mean, if you pick the melee soldiers, you're very screwed.
Yeah.
You can't do single target anymore. But if you pick ranged soldiers, you can still do AoE and be okay-ish at it.
Yeah. She'll be missing the span and the range, but she'll still do the same high damage that she would be doing either way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can still play her single target and bring an AoE as a side option if you want, for sure.
If you bring the melee soldiers, her single target is non-existent anymore.
I mean, you can do like some funny things. Like I guess you can take the melee soldiers and there's like attack from like 2 range or something. I don't know if that would work. You could 3C.
I don't think it would.
Like I don't know if her 3C from 2 range that would increase her soldier's range, right? I believe that. The 3C increases troop attack range by 1, so you can still use the 3C to launch her melee soldiers into 2 range. Although, like, I can't see any reason you would want to do that because her melee soldiers are like Stone Colossus and Redeemers, so I don't think it actually matters.
They won't do any damage.
Hey, if you're attacking like Bernhardt with werewolves, use those Redeemers and blow up those werewolves. But yeah, like her long range soldiers are all defensive choices. She doesn't have any. There's no like funny meme builds you can do with her where you take like some kind of offensive single target melee soldier and launch them.
That's not all. She also gets a clock and a teleport.
Right, so I guess we can talk about her new skills now. So I guess we can start with this cooldown reduction 1C. So this 1C just says that anytime she uses a skill to do damage, she will reduce the cooldown of that skill by randomly by 1 to 5 turns. So, okay, this skill...
Randomly.
Yeah, so I've seen a couple matches with SP Lana already, and this skill ranges from totally broken to being completely useless, and that's my biggest problem with it. it's some matches, like, I see her casting her 3C over and over and over, I'm just like, wow, this is really broken. And some matches she uses an AoE, and it only gets cooldown -1, it's like, okay, that was pointless. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like, I will say, like, this is way stronger on single target builds, because just like Light of Genesis, if you bring her 1-cost attack skills, it doesn't matter what the random roll is, right? You're always going to have it back up. Or even if you bring Cleanse, like, you can alternate between her 3C and Cleanse with some reliability. And that's pretty strong. Like, Cleanse is a really good, like, single target attack. Remove all those buffs. So... I actually think this skill is way stronger for her single target build. It's kind of questionable on her AoE build. I mean, I think it's consistent enough that you'll get some decent use out of it. But yeah, like I think it's definitely way stronger on her single target build.
Sure, and again, it's making her more leaning to the single target, like with her troops. You can just choose the ranged troops and be finer overall than if you would go ranged and AoE with the Redeemers. This is kind of weird. I thought that her options were more or less similar and you could choose freely, but the more we discuss it, the more I think that she's still the single target mage, most of all.
She's definitely more single target focused, I think. They just gave her AoE capabilities, because that was one of the big complaints people have about Lana, is that her AoE is like completely useless, or like very, very, like it had no boost. That's basically what they gave her, a boost to her AoE damage, so she can be a little bit more flexible. I think it's fine. Like, she's still the queen of single target magic damage now, or she's it again. Really high damage. She can spam a 1-cost skill, or like the 1-cost 1 cooldown skills over and over, like Light of Genesis can. So yeah, I think her single target is very strong, and her AoE is better than Light of Genesis. At least I can give her that. Light of Genesis doesn't have much in the way of AoE.
What do you think about the teleport?
So okay, we can talk about the 2C now. So this skill is really weird. So what it does is that it teleports herself up to 7 blocks. So this is a 7-block teleport, and then it gives her hero damage reduction, and it makes her restore 100% of her life before battle. After she takes action, she will teleport back to where she casted the skill. So clearly what they meant for you to do with this is to have her have a lot of range, or she can play aggressively. You can teleport forward and then maybe do a free shot at someone and then teleport back. But the problem, of course, is that this does not have an act again in it, so you are left vulnerable when she first teleports. And I guess that's why it has the hero damage reduction, right?
It's 75%, so you're not vulnerable, no.
75% is decent, but honestly, in these days, it's actually not enough. So a lot of the Chinese players, their impressions on this is that it kind of sucks, because a lot of them just teleport forward, and then it's if there's a strong enough single target unit, they're just gonna gank her anyway, because L1 will kill her, I think, past this anyway. I've seen a couple screens where Tola kills her, Lucretia actually managed to kill her through this in one thing I saw.
Oh my god, she's a monster.
And even ignoring all that, this does not give her debuff immunity or anything like that. A lot of these sorts of skills these days give some kind of debuff immunity, right? L1's Reign of Glory, that gives debuff immunity. Sigma's dual skill, that gives them immunity to debuffs. Even Vincent's 3C, when he charges forward, that gives him immunity to debuffs. This does not do that. So she's vulnerable not only to the strongest single target attackers, and maybe you can say okay, that's fair. You need to have someone who can counter this to some degree, but it's not just that. She's also vulnerable to debuffs. So you can black hole her, or if she doesn't have silence immunity, you might silence her. So there's just all kinds of problems with this skill, and it's just it seems so gimmicky with very little return. I don't want to say this is a useless skill, because being able to teleport forward and you can still play her aggressively, but it has a lot of limitations.
Those being that it costs 2 and takes a spot.
That too, right? Because if you're using this, I mean, if you use this plus the 1C cooldown reduction, that means you only have one offensive skill now.
And that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
You get no choice.
We can think of it two ways, right? Like, how would you use this with single target and how would you use this with AoEs? With single target, if you bring this, you would probably also bring the 1C, like, cooldown reduction, and then you would probably bring her 3C. So I guess the idea is that you teleport forward and try to, like, kill a tank life for free or just kill someone for free. That might work, but like I said, you know, she's vulnerable to getting killed by a strong single target unit anyway, and she can get debuffed. I mean, you can gospel her and that sort of thing, but
Then you're gonna need a gospel.
right, exactly. Like, why spend that much effort on Lana being able to kill one unit? I don't think that's really worth it. You know, compare that to like Elwyn, who like Elwyn faction buffs himself and then he charges forward with Reign of Glory and kills someone. It's like, okay.
And if you want to play this out with an AoE, you probably take 2 AoEs and your Lana must be just clock.
Yeah, probably. Like
something.
that. I think that would be the ideal. Like you would probably.
Or
take
one time use Lana with magic. Actually, I'm quite happy with the 1C talent because I was young and stupid, and I got crazy good rolls on my Lana with magic enchant. So I never changed them. While everyone was playing like Breeze Lana, Clock Lana, Mind State magic. So now I can take some use out of it. Because the clock is in 1C skill. That's something to be positive about.
Magic Enchant is one of those beginner's traps, right? I think a lot of people looked at it when they first started playing the game and they thought, oh, it looks pretty good. But this 2C is like really gimmicky. It might have some use. We might see a game or two where people screw around with it and like get a win out of it. But yeah, I think this is a kind of through 2C.
Well, do you remember what Elvin's 2C even does? Because I do.
Elwyn's 2C is Reign of Glory. It's the 1C everybody forgets. It's the one that...
The ones.
The 1C is the one where like if somebody dies, he gets like a buff that lets him restore HP before battle or something.
I think it just lets him restore HP. Because I once lost an Apex game to that. Because I attacked Elwyn with Zerida, with the archers. And then he just didn't die. That was a bummer.
Yeah. When I think of SP Sherry, like Sherry also had a 1C that was really strong and a 2C that was just kind of like, it's okay, I guess. Like, so... Yeah, it's not a total loss. I think, like, overall, SP Lana made it out pretty good. This is a huge improvement over base Lana. Like, like it could have been better, but I do think SP Lana is good. But if
I think she needs to be better. I hope the Chinese guys can make Zlong, make Lana great again.
I think as is, like, she is good. Like... We'll see a couple people using her, but yeah, she's still outclassed, I think, by Light of Genesis and Lucretia, simply because of all their utility kit, right? Light of Genesis has all her teleport, her strengthen, she can off-heal a bit. I mean, I guess you can give, if you really wanted to, you could give Lana a Gift of Eternal Life and have her off-heal a little bit as well, but Lucretia, of course, Lucretia has a revive that's reliable, she has huge range all the time, she has cooldown reduction from the puppet. SP Lana, like she's still a pretty selfish character. Like she's all about herself. She does a lot of damage, and she wants other people to support her. She wants other people to buff her. she's very narcissistic. She just wants everything for herself.
That's my girl.
All right, Anirel can relate.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, we've just been joined by Frontier, who was like driving home from something.
Home from camp work at 18 hours a day. Woo!
So Frontier, we just finished talking about SP Lana. Do you think you have anything you want to contribute here? I don't know if you like read up about SP Lana.
So I know I'm gonna get the 5 turns every time thing.
Don't we all?
Yeah, we're all just gonna get that. Yes, thank you.
No. The rule is that your opponent always gives the 5 turns, and you always get 1 turn.
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
They probably could have done other things, but it's good. Yeah, it's enough for me to put resources into it.
Did you build Lana at all for PvE or anything?
Yes.
Yeah, like I built Lana early on in the game.
I
because
use her for so much stuff still today.
yeah, like if you're PvE focused, then yeah, I think SP Lana is still a nice upgrade as well. Her damage will go up a lot. The Ancient Beckoning thing that's the biggest complaint. They really shouldn't have tied her damage to her buffs. Like, I really think they should have thought of something else.
Yeah.
I think even an HP requirement would have been better, especially since this phase shift skill heals her, right? Like, I gotta feel like if you tied her damage boost to her HP, maybe that would make more sense. All right, well, guess we're done with SP Lana. I guess we can talk about these 3Cs now. So, like I said earlier, they only added 2 3Cs this time. We can start by talking about Melania. We'll talk about Liana's next, because Liana's is more interesting. Melania's is like the obligatory SP or SR 3C that they add. I actually like this 3C quite a bit. Melania's biggest problem is that she didn't really have a group heal of any kind. She didn't have mass heal. She didn't have Dispel. She didn't have anything like that. So this is basically mass heal as an active portion. And then the passive portion is kind of interesting. It basically makes your tank slightly stronger each time they guard. And then it has an extra effect after they guard 3 times. They will be able to restore 20% of their life before entering battle if they're guarding. So basically, it makes Melania less reliant on the fact that you need to force somebody to attack her specifically. All that being said, this is all PvE stuff. This is totally a PvE 3C. Melania is still a PvE character, I think. And really, like, you only use her if you don't have Tiaras, I think, and most people have Tiaras.
Yeah.
I got a friend who's like a huge Yeleis fan, and he loves her a lot, and he levels her up. But I still don't think he uses her anyway.
Yeah, I've used Melania a few times, and like I make like videos where I try to not use SSRs in like challenge clears and stuff, and I've used Melania a few times. She can be pretty handy there. But yeah, aside from like gimmicky stuff like that, I don't see any reason to use her. I will say, like, if a newer player is joining the game and they don't want to put the resources into Tiaras, I do think in that case, like, Melania can be pretty good substitute. My only problem with that is that Melania's bonds, her bond requirements
Objection!
Okay.
You can... That would be all nice, but you're looking from a standpoint where you already have a lot of content unlocked. If I remember correctly, they give you Melania shards very late in the game.
That's true.
Yeah, chapter 2.
Very late in the game, so you won't be able to use her early on.
That's true. Yeah, I agree. If you get that far in the game without Tiaras, you're probably going to be fine without her going forward. It's just that if somebody decides not to focus on sharding Tiaras, I guess Melania can be an option.
Yeah, like I was. I think I went without a Tiaras for like 6 months or so.
Yeah.
It was torture, but as we've discussed already, I love torture.
Well, okay.
TMI, Anirel.
Just kidding, I don't. It was horrible.
I think a lot of people who don't have Tiaras, like, they used Sophia Regenerate, and I mean, obviously it's not nearly as strong. It's not nearly as strong, but like, it's...
Been there, done that.
Yeah.
Not even close.
And of course, like, a lot of times, a lot of people who were early on in the game, I remember the first couple months of the game, some people just stacked Tiaras with Sophia, and then just your tank just never dies.
Some painful memories have surfaced.
Tiaras was actually the first SSR healer I got, so I remember trying to pull for Liana for like the first few days of the game, and I just spent everything. I just kept getting Bernhardt, and I was so sad. It wasn't Bernhardt. It was I forgot who was Tiaras paired with. I think it was Layden.
Bernhardt Leon.
Yeah, Bernhardt Leon.
I got my first 2 SSRs were Leon.
Yeah, my first SSR was Bernhardt, I believe, but I never played. I actually didn't raise Bernhardt. I was like, I don't know. I want to play the good guys.
Wait, he's cool. He's not bad.
Okay, Anirel is authoritarian. She's okay with Bernhardt.
I'm Russian. What do you want?
You said that, not me. I don't make any political commentary on this show.
It's not like I like the tyrannic style of Bernhardt, and by the way, I just adore him because his voiceover is Charles Le Britannia.
Yes. Norio Wakamoto, he voices every dictator in anime.
Yay! And also, you know, all this Liana Elwyn storylines, they are just so plain. I'm the good guy, I kill the bad guys. End of story.
Yeah, that's
Have you-
why L1
No,
was really
no
good.
character development, no nothing.
Have you played the Wikigrisser remake, the recent one?
I didn't actually.
Okay. I don't know if you would enjoy the evil laden routes. They're
Okay, now you got me interested.
they're pretty funny. Like well, you say you like character development. It's like in those paths, it's not really character development. It's more just Layden going crazy because he can.
Yeah.
Sounds like Betty, and I hate Betty.
Oh, Betty, like it's funny because like before I played the remake, Betty came out on mobile and she was Dark Faction. And I was like, oh, I wonder what that's about. And then I played the remake and I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Yes.
She's totally nuts.
Yeah, she's pretty crazy.
I need to play the remake then. I need to go get.
The Betty endings in the Wikigrisser remake are amazing. I was laughing my ass off at a lot of them.
So anyway, I don't like tyrants. I just like complicated guys, I guess.
Okay.
So my favorite is actually Altamura.
Sure. I believe you.
So that's why I got him an SP. He's so sass.
Okay, so I guess we could talk about Liana's 3C now. So, long-awaited Liana 3C. It's basically better gospel, or I don't even know if it's a better gospel. It's gospel.
Double gospel.
Double gospel. Yeah. So first of all, this she can gospel.
Double gospel.
Yeah, or like she can gospel a target, and then she also gives herself immunity while casting it. She also gives like her talent basically to somebody else while doing this. So they're trying to make Liana better at versus debuff. So that's always been her thing. She's the best. She's one of the best like versus debuff healers. Aside from Rosen, she's the best. She's the best non-Rosen healer that actually responds to debuffs. So,
But that's not all. That's the best part. Yeah, every time she dispels with her talent, she reverts the debuffs into buffs. And we're kind of thinking that her kind of buffs she would give out would be Tenyo style buffs, more or less.
yeah, I looked this up, and the buffs that this passive gives are mostly the Tenyo buff pool. However, the movement buff, I believe, it's actually +2 instead of +3. That's the only weak part. So that's,
Someone finally nerfed that.
so sad face on a lot of people. You don't get Tenyo breezes from this. You get a breeze. It's still nice, like, but it's kind of sucks that it wasn't Tenyo breeze. Also, this only applies to the spells she does from her talent. None of them from her heals or anything else.
Still OP.
Yeah,
It's crazy OP.
yeah. The one thing I will say about this passive is like most of the time you need to already be in range of your enemy to use this to get these buffs. So it's not necessarily good. The breeze only being +2 doesn't have to be a bad thing. Although I will say like this does punish Kruger. Like Kruger. Mark you all the way across the map, and then Liana can just dispel stuff and try to punish that.
Kruger will now buff the enemy team. That's so
kind of
cute.
sad. I spent $20 on Kruger. What have you done?
Kruger is still going to be really strong, and the thing is that I think I feel like even with this, I would still ban Kruger when I'm picking Liana, and that's from the perspective of someone who plays very slow, tanky games. And the reason for that is because Kruger removes buffs. That's really my biggest concern with Kruger. Liana's Gospel and this new skill, they're all dispellable, so can't save you from Kruger if the RNG is against you. That's always the big problem.
Yeah, I'm still getting my big boy. He's hitting 6 stars tomorrow. My
Nice.
Kruger.
My Kruger was 50 weight between 5-star.
I'm still sweeping Kaiyura right now because I'm trying to get Rio by trading the Kaiyura shards from Rio, which I'm sure is triggering a lot of people right now that I'm doing that.
Hey, I did that one time, but it's enough, yeah.
That sounds horrible. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, I pulled 2 Kaiyuras and an off banner, and I was just like, I decided to just pull on the Landius banner that was up on the same time instead. I'm just gonna trade for Rio. Like, that's...
Okay.
Ugh.
So the other downside to this 3CIC is that it's 3 cooldown. That's actually a big problem. This Gospel from it is still only 2 turn duration. So this isn't like the normal Gospel where you equip Teddy Bear onto Liana and you can have Gospel up all the time. This has a 3 cooldown, a 2 base duration on the Gospel, so you're gonna have a dead turn on that Gospel. And the self immunity buff for Liana also only lasts 1 turn at base. So it does work with Teddy Bear though, like from testing so far. So at least you can extend it to 2 turns, but that is something to remember with her 3C, is that it's not like her Gospel spell. You're going to have dead turns with this, even if you use Teddy Bear.
But what if you bring all the Gospels in the world on her?
Yeah, if you...
Make her a Gospel bot!
Right, if you bring... Like, you can bring, like, Gospel plus the 3C on Liana right now, right? Like, and I guess you can skip the Act again. You know, it is a huge loss to lose Act again, but if you're fighting against pure debuffs and stuff, that can be pretty strong. And I guess put D-Lit in your box too. Put D-Lit in your box. Or just like put somebody that can reduce cooldowns, like Lucretia. Lucretia alongside Liana. Lucretia can go reduce the cooldown on Liana skills, and that will protect you as well. So, you know, even though this cooldown on this can be a problem, there's still ways around it, so I think that's fine.
Yeah. She never left the Apex boxes. I think she's been there like since season 1. She never left, and she's getting even better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Liana has been popular since season 1. Act again, like, what is there to say? Although, like, in recent seasons, many people have been considering dropping her, and a couple people did drop her because there are other Actigans that are stronger. Florentia, in many cases, is stronger.
Yeah.
Sometimes Sissy White can be stronger. Rosen obviously does her thing. And the reason people drop Liana, right, is not because her Actigan is weak or anything, but rather because her other role as the Dispeller is getting weaker and weaker. You know, it's getting harder and harder to respond to debuffs in that way. Like, the only way to respond to debuffs anymore is to just not get debuffed at all.
Or you could convert them, like Liana 3C.
Sure. I guess even Zlong realizes this, which is why they gave Liana another Gospel as her 3C instead of like a Super Dispel or something, I guess.
Yeah, we got a lot of super dispels, like, I don't know, Closey.
Yeah, there's a Super Dispel like Close, and how many people use Close?
No one.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who does.
I mean, I've seen, like, you know, like Egg Tang, for example, used Close in this playoffs a couple times, and you know, she can work, you know, but it is very, very difficult to just like fight a debuff box straight up now. Like, it's like especially because of Kruger. Like, Kruger just ruins that. You know, you can't even put up immunities anymore without Kruger coming in to ruin your day. Or Himiko. Himiko can steal your immunities.
Does she see a lot of play, by the way, the Himiko? Haven't seen her recently that much.
Himiko's still popular. She still like has large movement range. She does a lot of damage. She can steal buffs. She's still good. And she like ignores single target attacks once. Like, that's really strong by itself. So Himiko is still popular, I think.
Yeah, still in buffs. I mean, if you get Kruger and Himiko on your side, that's just bullying.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this will like change the way people play boxes. I don't think like tanky turtle boxes are going to be making a comeback thanks to this or anything, but it helps, and I'll try it out. That's the way I play, and I'm too small brained to think of any other way of playing. So whatever.
Yeah, me too. I'm a tank push.
Yep. All right, so we can talk about these exclusives now. So we got Night of Mystery and Rosalia's exclusive. So Night of Mystery. So this is a weapon. Both of these are weapons, actually. So they finally decided to add something that's not a helm for once. So basically what this does is that it opens up the troops that she can use to be a little bit more flexible, because beforehand she was kind of married to the unicorns. It was kind of tough to take her off of them simply because of the movement bonuses that they gave her. But now, if she's a mixed force, she can also ignore terrain again, so she can use the Steel Wings for a physical troop option, which is useful if you want to kill someone with like magic tanking soldiers like angels or sorceresses. And you can also
Helena.
you can use goblins on her. Goblins are actually very useful on her AoE build, which compounds really nicely with the other effect on this weapon, which is really OP. Like, I don't know if it's broken, but it's really, really strong. So this weapon says, before actively dealing damage, deal 1 instance of fixed damage equal to half of Knight of Mystery's magic defense. And of course, Knight of Mystery has decent magic defense. She increases her magic defense based on how many blocks she moves. And in the past, people have tried maybe building her magic defense alongside like Arcane Battle Garb or something, and people thought like that's too gimmicky, I don't want to do it. But now, I think this gives a new reason to try to build magic defense on Knight of Mystery, because this fixed damage, the wording
Works on AoE?
Yes, it works on AoEs. So
Oh shh.
and it happens before the AoE. Okay,
What?
that's the real thing to remember here. So like, this will break last rites for you in AoE and then hit them with the Knight of Mystery's AoE. So that's pretty nuts. Like
This might make her come back.
I think it might. Yeah, I think this is a really, really strong exclusive. I mean, Knight of Mystery's problem still is her factions, right? She has Legend faction and what is it, Strategic Masters, which are both like kind of factions, but yeah, I think this is really, really good. If you want to kill,
get it.
there's a number of last rites users I can think of that are really weak to AoEs, and especially if you break their last rites before you AoE them, like Himiko, she's gonna have a lot of trouble with this.
Ooh, okay.
You know,
I wonder if you can one-shot, I don't know, a doggo if you get the Yellis faction buff from Landius.
I mean,
It gives you advantage over non-advantage.
even before Knight of Mystery is being taken out of boxes, I saw Knight of Mystery kill Doggo a decent amount of times.
I mean with AoE and not with single target.
With AoE,
Probably not.
with AoE, I don't think that will happen. But however,
Yeah, probably not.
however, I have heard some people have tried in the past to use her to try to one-shot infantry, or possibly Cavs, since Thunder Zone is effective against Cavs, with some success. So you add this magic damage, fixed damage to magic defense, fixed damage to it. She might be able to do that again, but we'll see. Like, I think like Knight of Mystery's AoE ability was actually already really good, because she had 2 really good AoEs, and she could reset the cooldown on them pretty reliably. So you combine that with this, I think, yeah, like I think this is really good.
Are you like 100% sure this works on AoE?
I am 95%
This
sure,
looks really scary.
because I asked somebody specifically to test it for me, and he told me yes, this works on AoE.
Oh,
That's like-
oh god.
He also confirmed to me another thing that people were wondering: this does not allow her to run over Oldius tiles. Like, the wording on this was kind of weird. Like, some people thought, oh, that wording is very different from what they usually put. Does that mean she can ignore Oldius tiles? And no, she does not. She's still slowed down by Oldius tiles. That's one thing that sucks, but he also told me that yes, this works on AoE.
Oof. Scary.
I think this is really good. Like, we'll see. Like, I mean, her factions are the thing that's dragging her down, right? I think that's really the thing. If you put her in the box, you probably want Landius in there, and you probably will use like Himiko and whatnot, the other legend AoE characters.
Mm-hmm. And everyone with goblins. Goblin swarm.
Yeah, goblins on Knight of Mystery is actually a pretty funny build. I saw a video once where somebody equipped Demon Slayer on Knight of Mystery with goblins and Vidar's Rose.
What?
It was pretty funny.
What? Okay.
I wanna see it. Do you have a vid?
I tried looking for it, but unfortunately the video got deleted, so...
Okay.
I guess we could talk about Rozalia's exclusive. This is a weapon. It gives attack. It sucks.
Yeah, isn't it pretty meh?
I mean, okay, so okay. To be fair, like, being able to run on water and forest is a nice bonus for Rozalia, but I kind of looked at this and I was like, that's it? Like, that's all she's getting? And the critical evasion, I'm just like, why is she getting this? And when you consider some of the other weapons that Rozalia can use, like the for example, Unstoppable Knight, that new like the tank busting sword. Even something like Mjolnir, they have their uses over something like this. I think it is a good weapon. It just feels very underwhelming. I thought they would have given Rozalia something better than this, but
Comparing to what Knight of Mystery got, this is so underwhelming.
That's what I was going to say. It's like this one is like it's like the Kara beam's like this is nice, but this is better.
We can also compare it to the Rachel exclusive, on the scale from like Rachel exclusive armor to Mystery Knight. It's somewhere in the middle.
From a scale of Silver Wolf at the bottom to I don't know, like Helena at the top or something. I would rate this an Omega out of 10. Yeah, I guess for PvE, this is also nice. Like, all those maps with like water and forest. Like, yeah, sure, this is nice to be able to move freely on those.
No, what you said, it sucks. Really, it's nothing special.
All right, well, I guess we can move on from that to the other equipment they're adding. Now, these 4 pieces of equipment are not actually released yet, as we're talking. They're going to be released probably 3 or 4 days from when we're recording this. So they're releasing another equipment banner. So you got 4 pieces of equipment again. I will say that this time, like, at least this time they didn't add anything that was completely useless, but all of them are just kind of like, they're okay, I guess. So we can start with the weapon. This weapon is a spear. I've been expecting them to add a spear at some point, because they haven't added a spear since like the beginning of the game, and spears have always been kind of mocked in this game, because I mean, aside from the last knight that you get early on in the game for free, which was a nice starter weapon, a lot of the spears in the game are just kind of like there's no point in using them over a sword or something, because they have low base attack.
And they still do.
Yeah. So this new spear, I don't think it's gonna change that, but it is like a usable weapon. Like it can be like on par with the other DPS weapons, but the requirements to get it to activate, I think, are just really bothersome. So aside from attack plus 10%, so that's nice, but then the effect on it says before doing a single target attack, for every 1 block move, damage increases by 2%. Up to 10%. So 10% increased damage is nice, but you need to move 5 blocks to get the full effect from this, which is actually really hard to do a lot of the time. So that's really my biggest problem with this, is that even though the effect is quite nice, it's really hard to get the full effect out of it. So, and if you don't, it's probably not any better than even like, say, a Unstoppable Knight or even a Sealed Guardian. And the other effect on it says that if you move at least 3 blocks, then after battle you will inflict a cannot guard debuff that lasts 1 turn. Now, as far as this debuff goes, since it's not out yet, I cannot test it. But from the way it's worded, I believe this is like a smash debuff, where it doesn't care if you have mobility down immunity, and it'll just disable your guard anyway. But we're gonna have to wait until it comes out to see if that's actually true.
That works
cool.
like it says, then Hilda is going to have some counter at least. Just a little bit.
Maybe, but it only lasts 1 turn, and it can be dispelled, so you could probably use this to surprise someone once in a while. Like if you use like an act again or something, and then like you have 2 DPS moves in a row, and then you could just like combine this move. Like if this is actually like a smash effect, you could just use this to disable their guard, and then like use your other DPS to kill somebody. That's the way I'm seeing it. I can also see this maybe being really good for like Claret or something.
Or if she's like already moved because she's not afraid of you. She's not always afraid. Well, who can use the lances? Flyers and cavalry?
Flyers, cavalry.
She's usually not afraid of them. So she can just move and end her turn, and then you surprise her.
Yeah, and Lancers can use this as well, of course. And so
Yeah.
you can put this on your own, Hilda, and try to like bamboozle somebody.
Wow, that would be nice, actually.
Yeah, that's why I say this is not like a bad weapon. I can see like this weapon being used for some funny situations, like in just tricking people.
She will never get the 10% though.
Yeah, you won't get the 10%. But 3 blocks is full movement, but for a foot block class, but that's fine. Like you can get that, I think. Okay, so next we can look at this armor, I guess. So this is a leather armor. This one, instead of having a stat boost, it just says AoE damage taken minus 20%. And the other effect on it says if you are forced into battle, so basically if you're hit by a single target attack, you will have a 50% chance to reduce the enemy's attack and intelligence by 20%. So this has a way of dealing with both AoE and single target attacks. Now the single target portion of this I think is really, like, it's obviously very unreliable. It's a 50% activation, and if your opponent is immune to attack down for some reason, it's also not going to activate. So clearly this armor I think is more suited to surviving AoEs. And when you compare it to Last Rites, obviously this is way more flexible than Last Rites in terms of surviving AoE. You don't need to maintain 100% life all the time. You can just, you can have 95% life and you'll still get the 20% reduction. And I think that's arguably, I would say arguably that is more valuable than Last Rites.
I don't know, because I don't know. I'm looking at a Demon Lizard skin that just gives you plain 10% HP.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that be better?
It would really depend, right? Like, it depends on how much base HP you have. I think 20% damage is better than 10% HP. Like, reducing damage by 20% is way more than 10% HP.
But that's kind of like specifically targeting AoE rush boxes.
Right. So like I said, this is specifically if you want to make someone survive AoEs. Like for example, if you put this on Himiko, like Himiko has a big fear of AoEs, right? And she already has a built-in defense against single target skills. So I can see some merit to equipping this on somebody like Himiko, or if you're somebody who plays like tank push a lot, so you're not as scared of single target hitting your DPS a lot of time, you might be thinking, okay, I'm only scared of AoEs, so I'll put this on to counter all these AoEs that might kill me. That's the way I see it. So I think it has its use. Last Rites or Azure Legend, they still have their use, but I do think this has its place as well.
Okay.
If we have nothing else to say, we can talk about the helm now. So the helm is another mage helm that is similar to Sage's hat. So they've added a lot of helms like this, and once again, it's HP plus 10% because Zlong has learned that HP is king. So instead of giving damage taken reduction or mobility down immunity, or I guess like heal reversal immunity like that Witch Hat does, this one gives counter damage plus 10% and immunity to displacement. Okay. I think this is probably the weakest item on this banner. I think I can see some uses for the displacement immunity, but as is the problem with all the helms like this one, it only lasts one turn. You can't extend it in any way. And immunity to displacement on just one unit can be kind of useless a lot of the time.
2 units. No? This unit and 1 random adjacent.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
I would, like, all the time I would just prefer the aura.
Yeah, exactly.
For everyone.
Right, so what I'm thinking is, like, back when or even now, when you play Landius and he has displacement immunity on just himself, what people often used to do is just, like, you would use, like, Angelina, you can push the entire group, and then, like, Landius doesn't get pushed, and then you can just snipe somebody. Same concept with old Landius, you can just push everybody except for Landius. So this helm, I think, kind of presents the same problem.
That's why people actually don't bring the 3C on Landius in some cases.
Yeah. There's been some cases where I didn't bring 3C. I mean, you don't run into it as much anymore because people don't use Angelina that much anymore, and I guess Oldius is still around, but yeah.
You shouldn't pull for it.
So the last item they added is actually an accessory, like they often do. So this accessory is actually pretty good. It's a fixed damage immunity accessory, but instead of giving defense and all stats like Racer does, it gives intelligence base stat, and it also gives healing effects. So this is a fixed immunity accessory made for healers. But first thing everybody noticed, no silence immunity compared to bracers. So even though it does make your heal stronger, you're still giving up something pretty major to get that healing power. I can see. I don't think it's bad though. I think it's a pretty good accessory, especially for Rosen Seal, of course. Like Rosen, she's not scared of silence a lot of times. I mean, sometimes you can get all your shields stripped, and you might be scared of silence then. But even then, like I think this is a really good accessory for her.
Maybe for her only, because I don't really like this one. I must admit, I have almost all my healers with the silence immunity ring.
Okay.
Just for silence immunity. Florencia included, because Licorice has this one, because I don't have a bracer for her. Because if Licorice gets silenced, it's...
Yeah.
She's totally useless.
Yeah, I think on Licorice you would still use Bracer, if only because that's to prevent her from dying to Ares, mostly. Because Licorice is a holy class, so like if you have a really strong Ares with a Scarlet Reaper, he might just one-shot Licorice, so Bracer is usually the choice everybody goes for on Licorice. Not just because of the science immunity, but also because of like the defenses, the all stats, and the fixed immunity is all... You need all of that to survive Ares. And yeah, like, I mean, I think you kind of hit the biggest problem everybody has with this, is like no silence immunity. I really, really wish that this had intelligence instead of healing power, honestly. Because then it would just be like a better meta ring, right? Then I would use a lot of these. Then I would say this is really good. But it doesn't have that. It has healing power. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, it's okay, I guess.
Agreed. Like, I would replace all my star earrings for this, if it was int.
Yeah, if this was int, like, I would use this on so many units. But I would put on, like, my Rachel, probably. I would put it on Chris. I'd put on Yulia. But that's not what they went with, so I guess there's no point to fantasizing.
Yep.
I think, in general, this equipment banner is not worth pulling on.
That's a good thing! It's skippable! Yay!
Ooh.
Sure.
Opposite opinions.
Honestly, for non-whales, like, we should be skipping
yeah.
equipment banners in general, because like equipment banners they're pretty much always a scam, except for that one time there was like they had the guaranteed item.
Yeah, that one time it was even a bigger scam, because the banner wasn't that good to justify putting so much into it. But it was like teasing you, okay, you're gonna get what you want. So put more money.
That one you should have skipped if you really wanted to pull for Kruger, and then you needed to save for other stuff after that. Since I didn't
did.
Yeah. Since I didn't pull for Kruger, I did have the crystals to pull on the equipment banner, and I don't know, I thought it was worth it. The armor, I still use, like, I use the armor all the time. Although, like, I do feel kind of scammed in the sense that I pulled on it and I just got a bunch of the stupid swords. That was like the one thing I didn't want multiples of, and I kept getting the stupid sword.
I pulled for the second Bracer banner and I got like 3 Mimir War Axes. I didn't need any of them.
Classic mistake.
I did get 1 Bracer, so now I have 2 Bracers.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I have one still, and it's still on my Landias. Ooh.
Okay, so yeah, that's it for the equipment banner. So I guess finally I'll talk a little bit about some of the content they added, and as far as the content they added, is like this is part of the reason that people felt like this patch felt especially fillery. Probably again because they had to cancel Gintama. Like this is another like reason where it might seem like they probably were planning on Gintama for this thing, but they couldn't get it in time. So last month I talked about the new summon Freya from God's Covenant. I'm not really going to say much about it because I already explained what she does. All I'm going to say is that they added her. You can get her now. And, you know, she has her own unique like level up board. I don't think there's really a whole lot to say about it because she's basically the same thing as the data mine had from her. I don't have anything to say about it. I'll just move on from that. So a lot of the events they ran this month are just recycled ones. So they did the third run of Dimensional Expedition, and it's pretty much the same as it was when they ran it the second time. I still haven't done it yet, but I'm probably gonna make a follow-up video to my Dimensional Expedition video and talk about like the changes they'll make to it in the second run. But yeah, this third run is like it's basically the same. So I'll talk about that some other time.
Do they add any new rewards to it?
No. Well, they added the SP Narm shard to it, but you don't. If you're around for when SP Narm is released, you're gonna be able to get it for basically for free as long as you're playing the game. So
Okay.
they only added the shard to the shop because that's how you can get it from now on. It's like SP Freya, right?
Yeah.
SP Freya was basically for free that one time she was available from the event, but then after that, she's now available for Dimensional Expedition.
Yeah, okay.
So the Secret Realm event they ran this month is actually Research Team Maniac, which is the same, which if you'll recall is actually the anniversary Secret Realm event from the first anniversary. So it's the one that introduced Betty and Alfred, and where you like interacted with the dev team or something. And Betty kept referring to herself in the third person for some reason.
Oh yes, that one.
And again, they just recycled content, and that's another reason this patch kind of got some flack. But it's just not a lot to say about that. But I guess let's end this video on something a little bit more interesting. They did add some new story chapters.
Yeah, where are they going now?
Yeah, so these story chapters are not the Act 3 story yet. These are basically epilogue chapters to the Act 2 story. They did have a couple teases in here, suggesting where they might go from here. And they've already said before, they've said in some interviews or some Q&As before, some of the things they're planning. So a couple things, well I guess spoiler warning for those of you who care about this sort of thing, and you don't keep up with data mines and all that. So I'll put a time I'll put a time code in the video if you don't want to hear any spoilers. So they show Dark Matthew shows up and he's just like, "Grr, I'm the bad guy," and that's pretty much it. He was introduced in the Act 2 story and he basically didn't do anything. I have a number of complaints about the Act 2 story and but I'll save them for when the Act 2 story finishes in Global, and I'll probably make a video doing a rant about it or something. And
Cool.
maybe just talking about it, what happened, and there's parts I liked and there's a lot of parts I didn't like about the Act 2 story. But anyway, Dark Matthew was introduced at some point in the second act story and he basically didn't do anything. So in this epilogue, he just, like I said, he just shows up and he's like, "Arr, I'm evil." Yes, that is a very evil guy. And then they're just like, okay, I guess he's gonna be the villain next time.
It's gonna be the next time.
Sure.
Are they going to some new continent or are they staying? Any info?
They did, in fact, confirm in a separate Q&A a month or two ago, where they said the new story is going to take place on a new continent of some kind. That's what they said. Or it's a new land. They said a new land. I don't know if they meant a new map. They just said a new land. That doesn't necessarily mean that they will create an all-new world map for it. They might just use the western portion of the current YLS map that we have. But it is worth noting that this is the first time they're stepping way outside of any canon of the existing Wikigrisser games. Because in Wikigrisser, there were only two known places that they really visited, which is El Salia and YLS. And this is the first time they're going to be moving outside that. So I am very interested to see what they're going to do with that. They don't have to be tied down to anything. They can make up their own lore, I guess. They kind of do already. This is basically Wikigrisser fanfiction. But even though I said they're not going to be tied down to anything, they've already shown in these epilogue chapters that they are kind of tied down to something, because they revealed two new characters that we met. People probably saw this picture floating around. And yes, indeed, this is Old Sigma and Old Lambda. I don't know if you've seen the image yet, Anirel?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, so those two characters are Old Sigma and Old Lambda, or they're going by.
What's new about them?
Well, they're going by their real names now, which is Werner and Mariandel. Werner, not to be confused with Werner from Wikigrisser Tensei.
Yeah. I got confused.
Yeah, Sigma is the original Werner. Get it right. So we don't know very much about them yet. Although, like, they seem to be doing better in life than Landius did. They don't have that 1,000-yard stare that Landius had in his old age. They seem. It's interesting because like this was clearly a hook they put in during the Act 2 story. In one of the side chapters of Act 2 story, there's like one of the flashback chapters, or whatever. You do get to see when Sigma and Lambda were trying to stop the fog in the facility with Landius, I believe, and Varash, I think it was. And I think at that point, like, that was way past the end of Wikigrisser 4, and everybody else was already dead, basically. So at one point, Landius was kind of like, I think he said something like, "Oh, you two are still alive," or something. Sigma and Lambda says something like, "Oh, we have genetically engineered bodies or whatever, so sure, we're going to live longer than normal people, but even we're going to degenerate eventually." So I thought, like, they were clearly putting an escape hatch there for themselves, so they could either say they were dead because, okay, long enough passed and they just died anyway, but in this case they just decided, okay, whatever, we'll just dig them out. We're gonna use Sigma and Lambda. We got nothing. We gotta bring back somebody. So in addition to Sigma and Lambda, there is a lot of evidence in the story to suggest that Brenda and Varash are both alive. Even though Brenda does have like a grave stone, apparently that was just like a fake out. Possibly.
It's a fake out. You get bamboozled.
Yeah, she was like, I'm not actually dead, but we'll see. We'll see if Brenda actually shows up. And there's one last thing that is, like, it doesn't make sense to me, but there's actually some things that suggest that McLean is alive in the modern day of Wikigrisser Mobile still, and that makes no sense to me.
What? McLean's still waiting for Jessica?
Well, okay, first of all, like, some people say, hey, maybe that's why they never added McLean, they were waiting to add old McLean. My response to that is, like, McLean was not like some ageless being. He was just a dude with robot parts.
They kept adding him more robot parts, so now he's all robot.
The Terminator. So we're getting back on Yellis track.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still more Yellis story milking. But we'll see if they come up with anything interesting. I guess on that note, the other thing is that they're also running out of Tensei characters, right? So one of the questions people are wondering is, like, what are they even going to do from this point? Once they run out of Tensei characters, like, who are they even going to add? And they don't even, like, they can go back and add some Wikigrisser 1 through 5 characters, but they honestly, not even that many left over when you think about it. Now, I do think that for the 4th year of the game, I guess, like, they still have enough Tensei characters to fill out an entire year if they space it out alongside, like, some OC Donuts deals they're probably going to make. They're going to have the occasional collab. So I do think they still have enough to fill out another year at least. It's still something I'm wondering about, like, and we'll see, like, because, like I said near the beginning of this video, we're probably going to get an anniversary show on the 15th of this month, and maybe they'll reveal some of their plans then. I guess we're just going to have to wait and see, Anirel, do you have anything you would like to see?
I just hope we don't see any more Aniki trainings.
Please, no 75, no.
Well, I mean, last anniversary show, and I guess they could always change their mind, but they did say that this is the last time, or that was the last time they are going to be adding core training to Anikis.
I've heard they've changed their project designer since then.
That is possible, yeah.
That is possible, but, like, they can't go back on that statement without getting a huge backlash, so I think they're going to be careful about that. They could just add a lot of troops, If they add a ton of troops, that's going to tie up us plenty on training as well, I think.
Yeah.
You're always saying that this patch delay is something, like, really bad. Everyone is so upset. I understand that everyone is so upset, but I don't really understand why. Because, yeah, I know high expectations, but we're supposedly still getting all the anniversary things just a bit later. They've encountered something with IP problems or maybe something else, but it's not like it's getting cancelled. Honestly, I don't see where the big deal is.
I mean, I think you're right. Like, when you take a step back, it's not a big deal. I mean, when I first heard about it, I was also kind of like, damn, they're really screwing this up. But I think at the end of the day, like, Zlong's concern should be about pleasing their fan base, and even if like you and I are not going to be mad about it after we sit down and think about it for a bit, if they lose some players, they might lose them forever. That should be Zlong's concern, right? Like keeping to their schedule and like because like we don't owe them anything. we're playing their game, like we enjoy the game, but we don't owe them anything, and they don't owe us anything either, right? Like of course, but at the end of the day, it's their job to keep our interest.
I could go on and on about this because
More
every
or
time
less,
you
yeah.
mentioned losing a player base,
Mhm.
I think piloting.
Oh.
Because this gets me really mad. That's, I think, what they should be worried about, first of all.
Honestly, I feel like they even like quietly endorse it, given some of the things they put in the game. And I feel like, and even though like Apex matches and stuff do keep a lot of people engaged, I think the majority of their player base is more casual. They beat the PvE. They maybe play a bit of PvP now and again, so they're actually not concerning themselves with the piloted stuff that often. I mean, it is the piloted stuff can bother people who are playing PvP and like really care about playoffs and stuff, and I get that, but I think you just have to let that go. I don't think they're ever going to address it, and you're just gonna have to accept it.
I'll still be mad about it.
Okay, that's fine.
Really mad about it. That's a bigger issue for me than the oh my god, we're not getting any new characters. Okay, I can just level up my old ones.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Frontier, do you have anything you would like to see from the anniversary or from the game going forward? Right, like as we're approaching this anniversary show, we might get some big news. Do you have any expectations?
No. I just play the game, new characters, new story. I like the lore. So if they somehow bring back old characters that are presumably dead, I'm just gonna be like, okay.
Yeah, it's anime. People always come back to life.
Yeah, until you see them, it's actually not even, you can't even see them get stabbed, they just come back anyway. People don't die when they're killed.
You talk about stabbing, but like even if they're like disintegrated, they can still think of a way.
Yeah. They just like reincarnate them, like, whoop, there you go, come back.
This is a world where little girls turn into magic swords and save the world or something, so...
And then demons turn into trees.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Cool.
pretty sexy demons turn into trees. That's the sad part.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I think that's all we got today. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today, Anirel.
Thank you very much.
too. It was fun.
All right, everybody watching, you guys can tell us below maybe some of the things you want to see in the anniversary show as it comes. Thanks for joining us, everyone. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.